Hey, you guys. Good morning, afternoon, evening, whenever it is that you are listening to this podcast. This is Shitshow Sisterhood. I'm your host, Jennifer Levins. I'm also a quantum alignment coach and a Reiki master, and I'm writing my very first book right now, Surviving the Shit Show, a badass guide to thriving when your world is fucked up. On this podcast, we discuss the trauma that made us, how we survive it, and how we rebuild ourselves in the aftermath. Well, sometimes on that journey to rebuilding, we encounter moments that push everything into overdrive and we get exactly what we asked the universe for. Today, I'm going to share with you guys a moment that was like that for me. As a Reiki master, we go through multiple levels of what are called attunements to align ourselves to be a clear conduit for Reiki energy to flow through. This is a huge responsibility because it means that you have to let go of everything that stands in the way of that. I originally became a Reiki master in 2023, and at the time, I went through the 3 levels of attunement that are required to do so. Well, then in November of 2024, I received the opportunity to study with William Lee Rand at the International Center for Reiki Training. William Lee Rand is the most renowned Reiki master that we have in our current history, and I was so honored to be able to study with him. So in November, I studied my level 1 and level 2 Reiki training with him. I'm currently doing my practice sessions so that this fall I can go and do my master level with him. William only selects 30 students in the entire world to train each year, and he's pretty strict about his expectations. And I mean, I get it, rightfully so. He is the very best, and he expects to only train the very best. So no matter what level of training you have when you begin, he actually makes you go back through and take all of the training and all of the attunements again with him. That way all of his students end up finishing the program with exactly the same training. So on November 17th of last year, I had my level 2 attunement with him. Now, I do want to take a moment here and just give you guys today's disclaimer. In today's episode, we are going to be discussing memories of being put in very unsafe positions during childhood. This will include being put in compromising positions with trusted adults, as well as domestic violence and homelessness. This might be triggering for some listeners, and if it is, please just take this opportunity now to go ahead and skip this episode. There won't be any hard feelings whatsoever. Because of the nature of this episode, I am going to pause right here and give you the opportunity to switch the episode off before we continue. Okay, if you're still here, I'm going to assume that you're okay with continuing. So where were we? The experience that I'm going to share with you guys today happened during my level 2 Reiki training this past November. During that attunement, a memory from my childhood surfaced. After the attunement was complete, I took some time and I journaled the experience. And as I was researching what I wanted to share in this week's episode, I actually stumbled upon my journal from that training. In it, I had written the details of the attunement. If you would let me, I would like to share that with you guys now. November 17th, 2024, 7:23 p.m. Reiki Level 2 Attunement. What an incredible experience. During this attunement, I felt more consciously connected than I have in the past. During the meditation portion, William asked us to visualize walking through a forest. I was very aware of my surroundings in this forest. I could feel the grass beneath my feet, smell the fresh earth all around me, and I could feel the breeze flowing through the trees as I walked along a path. After a bit, I was led to a clearing in the trees. In the center of this clearing was a beautiful green hill covered in grass. I laid down on the hill to rest. It was there that I was met with this beautiful glowing white light. As I lay on the hill, surrounded by this incredible light, I could feel something or someone around me. As I received the Reiki symbols one by one, I could almost feel them being painted in light over my body. As they were being painted over me in this golden white light, I found myself saying the names of each symbol 3 times. After receiving the symbols, I took some time and I just sat in this energy. It was so peaceful. I remember thinking, this must be what it feels like to sit at the table of the divine. After a while, I decided to ask the divine a question that has always lingered under the surface for me. I asked, what is it that I'm too afraid to face? What is it that I need to heal from? I chose these questions because for years, I've been told by readers and by healers that I've worked with that there is something buried deep under the surface that I'm too afraid to face. But for the life of me, I can't figure out what it is. The answer I received was unexpected. I immediately began seeing flashes of memories from my childhood. The most prominent one was of my sister and I from when I was probably 6 years old. At the time, we were being babysat every Saturday by this older couple. They took care of several kids every Saturday in their home, and in the memory, my sister and I are huddled in the corner of their dining room. My sister's arms are around me as the old man is screaming at his young daughter. In the memory, I can see his old, ratted blue coveralls, and I can smell the beer on his breath. He's standing over his daughter, screaming and hitting her as she curls up in the opposite corner of the room. And I can see him slamming the belt on the table in anger. I remember him whipping her all over her body with that belt. Afterwards, I remember sitting down to lunch at that very same table, eating the same lunch that they gave us every single Saturday. Hot dogs on plain white bread with ketchup. A favorite still to this day. As I explore this memory, I don't ever remember him actually harming us, but only his own child. But for some reason, this moment has always been a prominent memory for me. After spending some time exploring the memory even deeper, I asked the divine, how do I heal from this? And the answer that I received was by facing it. After this, I went into this weird state of just exploration of my subconscious mind. My thoughts wandered from topic to topic, and I explored everything and nothing at all at once. I came to moments before William brought us back to the here and now. After the session completed, I decided to pull a card from my Universal Folk Oracle deck. The 2 cards that came out were the Mystery card and the Remembrance card. This is where the journal entry leaves off with an explanation of what these 2 cards were. Y'all, when I tell you that God, the universe, the divine, whatever it is that you want to call it, answers when we are intentional in our asking, I fucking mean it. 10 days later was when my sister came to live with us, and a series of events were triggered that led me to being here with you all today. But that isn't really the point of this episode. The point is that I was thrown into this situation where I had to face the shit from my past and start to actually uncover it and heal it because I asked for it. I, of course, didn't realize that that's what was happening when I made the request. I just wanted to not feel the weight of what I was carrying any longer. One of the things that has surfaced as I've been on this journey is that I have wounds surrounding safety that I didn't quite understand. I knew that I had been put in some pretty terrible situations as a child that were probably not the safest. But when exploring this safety wound, it wasn't these situations that came up for me. It was things like this moment that came up during this level 2 attunement meditation. Those were the things that really came to the surface. Another moment that surfaced for me actually helped me to understand why I still to this day do something the way that I do it. And though I didn't want this episode to turn into story time, I do want to share that story with you guys right now. So when I was about 13 years old, my parents were fighting all the time. This was a few months before they actually decided to divorce, but things at home were just really not good. My mom had started talking to people online and had met this woman. We're going to call her Deborah. Let's call her Deborah. Because remember, not using real names. Yeah. So we'll call her Deborah. Deborah had convinced my mom at that time that my dad was being verbally and mentally abusive to her and that she should leave him and move to Illinois where Deborah could, quote unquote, help her. Okay? Just so you guys understand, I don't ever remember my dad being abusive. That's not a thing that I experienced, but this woman had really convinced my mom that she was being verbally and mentally abused. So one morning I got up for school and my mom was already up, which was really weird because she wasn't normally up when I left for school. Well, that morning she informed me that I wasn't going to school that day and that we were actually going to be moving to Illinois and that we would be leaving while my dad was at work. So we packed our bags, and that afternoon, Deborah showed up to pick us up. Now, I didn't know Deborah from a hill of beans. Never met her before, had never even heard her name before my mom mentioned her. I didn't know that this woman had been feeding my mom all this information for weeks and weeks and weeks about how my dad was abusive and how she needed to escape the abuse and come to Illinois. I didn't know any of that. All I knew was I got up that morning and I was told, we're leaving, your dad's abusive, we're moving to Illinois. What transpired in the weeks that followed really became one of the major pain points of my life. My mom, my brother, and I left our home on a Tuesday afternoon while my dad was at work, and honestly, I'm not even sure that he knew that we were leaving. I remember that we drove late into the night and we arrived at Deborah's very early in the morning hours. When we pulled in, it was still dark outside, and it was really hard to see the property, but there was this very small rundown house, and there was also a camper in the front yard. It was at this point that I was told that because the house was so small, that my mom and my brother would be sleeping in the camper, but that I would have to sleep in the house with Deborah. I'm not sure why this decision was made the way that it was. But honestly, at that point in my life, I didn't feel that I had the power to stand up for myself and refuse this instruction that made me very uncomfortable. When we got into the house, I asked if I would be sleeping on the couch and was told no, that I could just sleep in Deborah's bed with her. I remember thinking that I really didn't want to do that. But being in a strange place with a person that I didn't know, after being forced to leave my home, my friends, everything that I had ever known without any notice at all earlier that day, well, honestly, it was enough to fuck up my young 13-year-old mind. And I just didn't stand up for myself. So, in the early morning hours, against everything that I felt was right, I got into Deborah's bed. I remember thinking that the sheets were disgusting. They were dingy and gross, and the entire room reeked of cigarette smoke. But I got into that bed, and I immediately began to make myself as small as I possibly could. I moved myself as far to the edge of the bed as possible, and as Deborah lay down beside me, I made myself even smaller so that our bodies would not touch. I remember that on the bedside table there was this lamp, and I remember moving myself as close to it as I possibly could. This became my reality, night after night after night, for the next couple of weeks. When it would be bedtime, I would take my brother out to the camper and I would sing him to sleep. I'd sing him every single Backstreet Boys song that I knew. And if you guys know anything about me, you know what a Backstreet Boys fan I am. I sung him every single song off of the Millennium album because he was scared and because I didn't know what else to do. And because I was told to go put my brother to bed while my mom and Deborah hung out. Now, I do want to be very clear on one thing. Nothing ever actually happened to me in that bed. But the experience of feeling unsafe over and over again every night created this wound inside of me that honestly, I don't even think to this day it has healed. I still, despite anything that my husband may tell you, try to make myself as small as I possibly can when I go to bed at night. I sleep with my back to my husband most nights and over as far to the edge of the bed as I can. Even when I'm sleeping in the bed alone. We stayed at Deborah's house for about 2 weeks before my mom picked me up from school on my very first and only day of high school in DeCoin, Illinois. Midway through the day, my mom showed up to pick me up and informed me that we were leaving Deborah's home because she had discovered that Deborah had been lying to us and that she was not who she said she was. We spent the next 10 days living in a homeless shelter before my dad finally came to pick us up and took us home. I share this story with you today because at the time I made the request to bring to light all the things that I needed to heal from. I had no idea that memories like this were buried so deep within me. I just knew that there were some things that I hadn't faced and that I needed to heal from. When we start to work through the shit show of our lives, it is important to be intentional about it. For the past few months, I've been trying to understand why all of a sudden, all of these memories from my past keep coming up to the surface. It has been feeling like I'm all of a sudden working through all of this fucked up shit from my childhood. Well, apparently it's because I did it to my damn self. On that night in November, I was intentional in what I asked for, and the universe did not disappoint. I asked to heal the wounds of my past. So that's what's happening now. And you know what? I'm not mad about it. These past few months have been so incredibly hard. But every single day, I'm seeing myself grow and evolve as a person. I am opening up and I am able to authentically show up for those that I care most about. This journey has forced me to relinquish the control that I've always needed to hold on to. For years, I've been a relentless control freak. And I now understand that that was out of fear. Fear that if I didn't micromanage every aspect of my life, then something terrible might happen. I now understand that that's because there were so many times as a child that I had no control over what was happening to me. I was scared and I felt very alone in that. But now, as an adult, I know that I can choose to release that fear. And you know what? So can you. So if you take anything from today's episode, I hope that it's that. That you don't have to hang on to all the bullshit any longer. That you can intentionally choose to heal from it. And no, it doesn't have to be this big dramatic way that I did. I'm just a little extra from time to time. But you can make that choice. You can ask the universe to lend a helping hand in your healing journey. My only disclaimer would be just be careful in how you ask, because you may just get exactly what you ask for. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I know this kind of turned into a story time episode. That wasn't really what my intention was, but you know what? I really do hope that you were able to get something from it. If you did resonate with today's episode, if you wouldn't mind just passing it along to someone that you feel like could use a little bit of encouragement today. We are almost to 300 downloads of this podcast, and that is because of you guys. You guys getting it out there and sharing it. And you know what? For that, I am so incredibly appreciative. When looking at the structure and the function of this podcast, I absolutely do not want this to turn into just a space where I come on here and I just trauma dump all of my shit on you guys. I do really want this space to be a space that builds sisterhood and builds community. A space that gives women the opportunity to have their stories be heard and for them to share the lessons that life has taught them along the way. So here is just kind of what I'm thinking going forward. I'm going to be structuring this podcast into seasons. I think each season is probably going to be 12 to 13 episodes. I'm thinking around 3 months. If we do weekly episodes, then, that ends up being 12 or 13 episodes. And for this first season, we're going to spend some time just getting to know each other. And yes, me dumping all of my childhood bullshit, because you know what? That's really the state of healing that I'm in right now. And I want to share that with you guys. But starting in season 2, which should probably hit around, I'm thinking the first week of July, I would like to start inviting other women to share their stories of surviving their own personal shit shows. This can look like many different things because no two experiences are going to be exactly alike. But whatever you've gone through, I'm sure that there's someone out there who needs to hear about it. Your life experiences is your own beautiful form of medicine, and the world needs you to share that. So if you're willing, please apply to share your story on this podcast. The process for applying is really simple, and I'll be with you every step of the way of it. All you have to do is be brave enough to tell me your story. You can even do it anonymously if that's what you choose to do. It's fine. I got you. Just apply. I'm going to leave a link in the show notes of today's episode, and we can kind of take it from there. My hope is to get 12 strong-ass women willing to speak up and have their story be heard. So if that's you, please just apply. Let me take it from there. I promise you it's not quite as scary as it sounds. Thank you guys so very much for hanging out with me today. I appreciate you more than you will ever know. And as always, please remember, you are enough, you are worthy, and you are so very loved. Until next time, you guys. Bye.